Ahoy, and welcome. This is Admiral.
Woo-la-la.
Covering a new update that just dropped with some new balance changes, and surprisingly a bunch of new maps in what has already been a fairly map-heavy year. Let's jump right into it. A quick note for the few Empire Wars fans out there is that the latter will have its ratings reset in connection with the upcoming Red Bull tournament in January, which this patch is mostly centered around.
Contract or no, I will not bow to any sponsor.
As far as balance changes, we start off with an adjustment to the appetizing sounding chicken-type animal food, reminiscent of something off the ingredient list of a questionable frozen dinner item or fast food restaurant offering. Jokes aside, chickens and hares have been fattened up with an additional 10 food each, which makes sense given how hard they are to push around, with a typical patch of 6 chickens now offering 60 more food before decay is considered. The bird theme continues with eagle warriors being restored back to their original cost of 20 food and 50 gold, after the power creep of other civilizations and the various swordsman buffs made their 25 food cost a little too punishing. Although swordsmen have also been buffed indirectly with the reduction in cost of gambesons by 50 food. Traction trebuchets now reload more slowly, but deal more bonus damage to buildings, for what looks to be very nearly the same DPS, and now move more slowly by 3/100ths of a tile per second. Sure, why not? Warrior priests are now more spammable with a 10 gold discount, and Krepos can now train petards. Flemish militia don't get any revolutionary changes, but rather another entry to the series of minor tweaks with a bit more speed. Georgians get a couple buffs, including the reduction of the cost of their unique tech, Aznauri Cavalry, by 200 food, and an increase of its effect size from 15 to 20%. Previously, with this tech, if you had 80 Hussars, or other cavalry units, they would take up 68 population space, but will now only take 64. The Georgian fortified church aura that increases villager work rate has also been extended from 8 tiles to 9. The Jurchens get a couple buffs as well, including a faster base attack rate for their iron pagodas, which I like a lot, as the oddity of them having an artificially low attack rate specifically to nullify their civilization bonus for the unit was something I commented on as being needlessly odd and flavorless at the time. It still doesn't approach the slicing speeds of the samurai, but it's at least slightly faster attacking than the average cavalry unit, making it a partial strength of the unit rather than a full negation of the civilization bonus as before. The Jurchen attack speed bonus for cavalry and fire lancers has also been increased from 20 to 25%. The Kitangut unique siege unit, the mounted trebuchet, will burn a little brighter with a slightly increased fire tile area and longer burn duration of its projectiles. Pastures have also been changed slightly. They now cost 10% more wood, but have about 10% more food. So the wood to food ratio is about the same as before, but the startup cost is a little higher, as is the build time. I know that balancing sometimes requires very precise fine-tuning. It seems like a lot of motion for the sake of ending up in, or very, very close to, the same starting place. Not bad changes per se, they just seem a little random. The Persians now get a mild boost for one of their unique technologies, now making their wood-only crossbowmen a little cheaper, allowing them to Kaspam Duram, the trashbowman, and save wood for Siege Ram more easily. Coming to the Spanish, elite conquistadors now deal 19 damage, which is a welcome change, as they were always a little underwhelming as a late-game unit despite their castle age strengths. And the elite upgrade has long been questionable and was only buffed, relatively, by nerfing the castle age conquistador stats a while back. So it's nice to see the upgrade provide a little more absolute utility for the unit, along with a price drop. Keshiks have also been bulked up with a few more hit points, and their elite upgrade is also cheaper, this time contributing to the gold efficiency they were already famous for. And Turks now mine gold a little faster. I like that this maintains their identity, but I'm a little torn on it, as it seems to make them stronger where they were already good, like Arena, without addressing their weaknesses in other areas. But we'll have to see how things shake out. And 2 of the 3K factions have gotten some mild nerfs. Next up are 9 new random maps. I'm a little surprised by this, as it wasn't that long ago that we got a bunch of other random maps, but I guess they wanted these specifically for the upcoming tournament. The first new map is called Crownwood, an open map with a very simple premise, characterized by large, exposed woodlines on the tops of hills. Not much else to say here. I think this could be combined with another gimmick, or at least a little more visual flair. Dorothea Quarry features a central lake with fish and tons of oysters on the shallows, and a larger sloped ring where hunt, herds, and relics spawn. And that leads to an outer plateau that is the only significant source of wood, with scattered pairs of gold and stone mines. Glacis features a large, walled, and slightly elevated starting zone, with standard starting resources and the time-honored premise of leaving the safety of your defensible starting zone to claim the neutral resources. I generally like the idea of these arena-light types of maps that offer a little less protection and a little more variety. Next up is Hengehold, another of what I call the ring maps, with most of the trees and stone and berries on the outer perimeter. Gold is dispersed throughout the whole map, and the elevated inner area has huntables, herdables, and relics, as well as a new Gaia model of Stonehenge, which instantly elevates the coolness of the map. Personally, I'd prefer to just call this map Stonehenge after its centerpiece, rather than Hengehold, which implies a stronghold theme which is not present, and which they justify, dubiously, by saying that the outer perimeter holds resources. True, but a very odd and unintuitive naming convention. Just Red Bull things, I guess. The outer perimeter is also the only place you'll find stone in a ring, rather reminiscent of Stonehenge. Next up is Loch Ness, which after the last visual detail, I half expected to include the eponymous monster, and which it does, but just as an occasionally surfacing graphic, not a fully interactive unit. I'm not totally sure how I feel about that. It's definitely kind of cool, but also kind of a quirky choice for a new graphic. But I guess the intent is to get people talking to hype up the tournament.
For me, the beast doesn't include selling out.
No word on whether Celts get a bonus on this map for Saint Columba. Be that as it may, apart from the cryptid element, this is a fairly simple map with an oblong pond around which the gold and relics are concentrated, and with a shallow crossing connecting players. Rampart has elevation around and connecting each player, but is otherwise unremarkable. Like Crownwood, it's a semi-interesting premise, but feels like it could do with a little more strategic or visual flavor to round it out. Stonefront is another open map, with most of the mineral resources clumped up against large semicircle walls of rocks, with relics in the middle of the circle. Next up is the Thames, a map that's very bare around the player's starting areas, but punctuated to the south by a mineral and hunting zone, and a river with shallow crossings leading to the northern corner, with its supply of berries, huntable and herdable animals, and relics. It also has a unique building, the Royal Albert Hall,
Then I bet you weren't expecting this.
which increases the population cap and headroom of whoever controls it by 25. This is a modern building that has no connection to the setting of the game, and is purely a gimmicky promotional insertion. This isn't actually a fully new building though, just a reskin for that map. So my guess is that this is not a permanent graphic, but rather like some of the event mods of yesteryear. And as such, I will limit my prognostications of doom as to future additions to the game. So while I find this weird and not reassuring to those who are concerned about further deviations from the game's theme, I don't think this temporary graphic is a huge problem as long as the next official additions to the game are high effort and thematically appropriate. But of course that remains to be seen. Last map is called Vulpine, one of those anti-defensive maps where you can't wall to your town center because of a ring of rock terrain. And the map should be very aggressive, as an open map with a lot of wildlife, including pockets of hares, and of course foxes galore. The center features a ring of trees that you either have to cut very inefficiently, or knock down with siege to get to the center, where, spoiler alert, the secret within is a reskinned trade workshop that generates resources for whoever controls it. So that's the update. My summary is that the balance changes seem decent overall, with some slightly odd but not too disruptive balance changes, and the new maps range from one-dimensional to somewhat interesting. The new permanent Stonehenge graphic is cool, and while the Nessie is a mixed bag and I don't care for the new building graphic at all, I don't think it's permanent or related to anything but the upcoming Red Bull tourney. Silly as I think it is to make temporary oddball graphics for that. So that's my review of the update. Let me know what you think. That's all for today, and thanks for watching. This has been me describing December developments in detail. Till next time.